Iranian students have launched the first large-scale anti-government protests since January's deadly nationwide crackdown, marking a significant moment of renewed unrest inside the country. Demonstrations erupted at several major universities across Iran, including in the capital, Tehran. Verified footage shows hundreds of students marching on the campus of Sharif University of Technology, chanting anti-government slogans at the start of the new academic semester. Protesters were heard shouting, "Death to the dictator," a direct reference to Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. Videos also show tensions rising as groups of pro-government supporters gathered nearby, some carrying Iranian national flags. Scuffles later broke out between opposing crowds. Similar protests were reported at Shahid Beheshti University and Amirkabir University of Technology, where students staged sit-ins and chanted for freedom and political reform. In Mashhad, Iran's second-largest city, students reportedly shouted, "Freedom, freedom," and "Students, shout for your rights." It remains unclear if arrests have been made, but reports indicate that demonstrations continued into Sunday. Context: deadly January crackdown. The renewed protests follow January's unrest, which began over economic grievances, but quickly evolved into one of Iran's largest protest movements since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The US-based human rights activists news agency reported that at least 7,015 people were killed during that wave of unrest, including thousands of protesters and hundreds of children. Iranian authorities, however, claim that most of the 3,100 reported deaths were security personnel or bystanders attacked by what they described as rioters. The conflicting casualty figures remain highly disputed. Rising US-Iran tensions. The protests come at a sensitive geopolitical moment. The United States is expanding its military presence near Iran, as President Trump considers what he has described as possible limited military action if negotiations over Iran's nuclear program fail. Washington and its European allies suspect Iran may be moving closer to developing a nuclear weapon, an accusation Tehran has repeatedly denied. US and Iranian officials recently met in Switzerland to discuss curbing Iran's nuclear activities. Both sides acknowledged progress in talks, but President Trump later said the world would know within 10 days whether a deal would be reached or whether military action would follow. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff stated that President Trump was questioning why Iran had not capitulated despite the significant U.S. military buildup in the region. Divided opposition. Iran's opposition movement remains divided. Some exiled groups are calling on Washington to intervene militarily, hoping it could accelerate the fall of Iran's hardline government. However, other opposition factions strongly oppose foreign intervention, warning it could destabilize the country further. Meanwhile, competing narratives are spreading across social media, as both pro-government and opposition groups attempt to shape public perception. What happens next? With renewed student protests inside Iran and rising military pressure from the United States, the situation remains highly volatile. Whether this moment leads to internal political change, a renewed nuclear agreement, or further escalation between Washington and Tehran could become clear in the coming days. For now, Iran faces mounting internal unrest and growing external pressure.